So nice. Get into a Mini that just starts and runs. This is my wife's 2017 Clubman. We're gonna get it out of the way so we can work on that thing. It's like 4 degrees outside. Good morning, car. What secrets and horrors do you hold in store for me today? All right, it's a couple days later. I have just about an hour. I can get to the garage and putter around a little bit. And I'm excited to get out here because 2 things. I took a flashlight and took some time and found my clip off of the temperature sensor. So I've got that again. So we're going to put that back on today. And then the other thing that's kind of the big news is I'm going to share with you what I found out about the cam alignment tool. So check this out. So my tool was definitely incorrect, but I found out by doing some poking around over at DetroitTuned.com, you can rent this kit that does N12, N16, N18 cam alignment. Comes with all the parts, comes with the pins and everything. It does not come with any directions, but you know, you can figure it out. If you've done a little bit of research, you can figure out how these things go. And so I have mine kind of finger tight on there. And there it is. I've got it just sitting right on there with just the little bolts finger tight for right now. I'm going to lash them down pretty good. And that's it. That should hold the cams in place. So now we can proceed with pulling the head off, which is really exciting. The thing that's very cool about this is that I could rent this for quite a bit cheaper than buying it. Well, I say quite a bit cheaper. I don't know. We'll see how long I have it. $35 plus the shipping to have this for 2 weeks. They're a little vague on how long, but they said 2 weeks or so. Plus you pay them $150 sort of deposit, core charge, that you get back when you send the tool back. You pay the shipping both ways. The one I bought that was the wrong one was like $80. So I'm going to return that one. And for less than $80, I think I can rent this thing even for 2 periods if I have to, for a month. Hopefully I don't need it for that long, but, and it's the right one and it goes back and I'm done with it. So $35, DetroitTuned.com, pretty good deal. And they have all kinds of mini parts too. So you can buy your timing chain kits and stuff from them. I went the cheaper route, hoping I don't regret that. But anyway, in any case, I found the right tool. So I'm going to lock that down in place and then we're going to work on proceeding towards removing the head. I don't know if I'm going to get the head out today. In fact, I know I'm not going to, but I might be able to get some motor mounts loose. So here we go. Let's see what we can get done today. All right, right here is our lower passenger side engine mount. And what we're going to do is remove the bolt from this and loosen this so that this bracket can come loose and just swing down out of the way. And the weight of the engine is being held on this jack. Okay, took a little wiggling, but there it is. This is the motor mount now. Loose. I just put the bolt back in it. There's a jack with a couple blocks of wood holding the weight of the motor up off the pan here. So the engine's now basically floating on the passenger side. As you can see now that the passenger side is standing up a little on the higher side. And we've done that because what we want to do is give ourselves enough room to get down here into this kind of water pump, roller pump assembly thing and get access to these 2 10 mils right here, because we're going to take this whole thing right off. So I am having a hell of a time getting to these 2 little 10s at the top, no matter what I do here. And what's really in my way is this motor mount. So it looks like 2 bolts, 13, and maybe a 15. I'm just going to take this right off, get it out of the way. Okay, I got the 2 upper 10 mils. And then I just lowered the motor on the jack again. Now I can see this 10, and we can go ahead and take that one off. All right, and there it is, our roller pulley taken off. Looks like something out of Star Wars. Okay, moving along. Okay, that is exciting because all it is left to do now is to remove the timing chain and take the head off. I don't have enough time to do that and take my time and do it carefully. So I'm going to sign out for now. I'll be back at it soon. All right, it's a big day here in the garage. It looks like all we're left to do now is pull out the timing chain, and it's time to remove the head. So I might even get the head to the shop today. We'll see. But I'm ready to get into it. So here we go. I'm going to take the timing chain out next. All right. First on our to-do list this morning is to loosen the two cam sprockets. Not going to take them off, just going to loosen them. It's an E14. My notes say that they're tight and the engine is loose in here. So I'm hoping this doesn't move around too much, but let's see if we can break these loose. It is tight. The hell? Part of this plastic cassette just broke right off. Interesting. Well, that's being replaced. Wow, this is nerve-wracking. There's one. Okay, that's loose. That's what this is really helping out with, is it was really straining against this locking tool that allowed me to break this loose without turning the cams. They were tight. Okay, so that's loose. Okay, now I'm going to lower the engine down on the jack a little bit just to get really clear shots at these two T45 headed bolts that hold the timing chain cassette in place. So we're going to lower the engine down a little bit. Okay, that's going to give us a pretty good shot on those. Okay, Now what we're going to do is go up and get this last little bolt for the cassette. We can raise the engine if we need to get a little bit better access. But right now it looks like I got a pretty good shot at it. Okay. We're going to finish removing the bolts that hold the cam sprockets on. Oil. Then we're going to take off this chain deflector that I broke. It's amazing how much plastic is in this motor. I don't fully understand using plastic to make stuff, but what do I know? One. Okay, there's our deflector. Put that whole thing to the side. On these bolts that hold the cassette, the timing chain cassette, I want to point out that there are two different sizes. The thicker ones, which are these two at the top, go on the bottom, and then the skinnier one is the top one. So I made a note on my bag, and I'll make a note in my notebook to remember that. Okay, it's getting exciting now. We're going to pull the sprockets off, and we need to note that they're marked EX for the front and IN in the back, so our intake and our exhaust, and they are not interchangeable. So we need to make sure that we put them back in the same way. Apparently these are not keyed in any way, so they just pop off. I don't need to mark them to put them back on, but I do need to remember which one is which. So we're going to pull those off, and then a couple more steps, and we're going to pull the whole chain right out. There is our exhaust side. And I'm going to, even though this is coming out very shortly, just to make sure I don't lose this down in there and cause myself a problem, I'm going to hook this just to something up here. Aren't I? I thought I was going to hook this. There we go. Just to keep it from falling down inside. Okay, and there's our intake side. All right, so apparently now I have to pull the dipstick because the dipstick blocks the way. And then I believe this whole assembly will pop right out. And there she is. There's our timing chain assembly. Plastic. We're going to put all new back in there. I'm going to put the dipstick back. No, actually I'm not. I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to leave that out. Okay, it's about to get pretty serious in here. We're going to start taking the head bolts off by doing these 3 on this side first. There's 2 like right here at the edge of the head, and they are E8s. No, E10s. So we're gonna run these 3 E10s out, and then the rest of the bolts are inside around the valves and stuff. So we'll take those out in a sort of a star pattern next. But right now we're gonna go ahead and start on these 3 outside ones here. There are washers on these too, so we want to make sure we grab the washers too. Okay. All right, I have temporarily removed the cam lock tool. It should be fine, just long enough to get these bolts out. And then I'm going to put it back on. And I'm going to go in a star pattern starting from the outside. So I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so on. So, and then once I feel like these are loose enough to pull out, I'm going to pull these 2 end ones out and put the cam lock back on it. So here we go. I expect these to be tight, but I don't know how tight. Okay, not too bad. I'm just gonna crack each one about 90 degrees to get started. Let's go over here. Okay. There's once around, just cracking everything loose. And I'm going to start over again. Start running them all the way loose. Let me get a tray to put all these in. They don't get reused, but I still want to put them in something. Our washers on these too, so we want to make sure we get our washers. So we're leaving them down in there. I'm going to go ahead and take this other one off on this side and then put the cam tool back on. Okay, cam lock tool is back on, and now we're going to run the rest of these bolts out, throw them in a box, and at that point we're going to see if everything is off and we can pull the head right off. Okay. I think I am going to, I'm going to stuff a rag in this port down here because I don't know how much coolant is left laying in there, and I don't want to splash a bunch of coolant down into the cylinders. So I think I'm just going to stuff a rag in there and then prepare a place to sit this. and start giving it the shake test and see if it's ready to come off. I don't see anything else holding it in place. We'll find out soon enough though. All right, I know it's loose because when I went to stuff that rag in there, it moved. So I've got a rag in that port. I don't know how heavy this is, so I'm just gonna kind of get a feel for how heavy this thing is to lift it and to where to lift it from. Okay. It's not that bad, so up we go. 1, 2, 3. It's a boy. Wow, there it is. Isn't that amazing? That is quite an accomplishment. Oh, awesome. All right, now that the head's off, we can see the top of the block and we can see the top of the pistons. And this is a good time to talk about some of the stupid stuff that I've done and how hopefully we can correct them. First, remember when the temperature sensor got blown off over here and all that coolant splashed up into the head? Well, it ran down through and was laying on top of the pistons when I took the head off. There was a couple ounces of coolant on top of each piston. My understanding is that now that means that probably coolant has run down past the rings into the oil. And we don't want that. So before we fire this thing back up, we're going to do an oil change, which is probably not a bad idea anyway. I did just have it changed right before all this happened, but why not? So we're going to change the oil and hopefully that'll solve that. The other stupid thing that I'm wondering about is in the process of putting this cam lock tool on, this cam rolled this way a little bit, enough that I had to put a wrench on the end of it and pull it back under the tension of the springs to get this alignment tool on it. So when I take this alignment tool off, this one rolls forward just a couple degrees. They're not both set flat up on top. I'm going to talk to the engine shop where I'm taking this head, and hopefully they can explain to me what I did, and hopefully nothing that doesn't mean anything too serious. But I did want to note it that it happened. So that's that. Something else that's interesting is that in these coolant channels here, you can see that there's some like coagulated, kind of hard residue in there that I'm assuming probably shouldn't be there. So we'll clean all of that stuff out. And if anybody can sort of help give me the post-mortem on what's going on there. Maybe this is the area where our head gasket failed, and that's why it's the only area I see that is right there. Okay, and then here is our old head gasket. I personally don't know what exactly I'm looking for, but I was assuming that I would see some area where it was kind of obvious that there was something going on, a blowout in this sort of raised gasket material, but I don't see that. So, but I don't know that that means that the head gasket wasn't bad. It's really hard for me to tell, but I think I'm gonna take this to the engine shop too and just let them take a look at it. While I was down there messing around, I just went ahead and slid the new belt in place. This is the old one, and it's actually not in bad shape, but we can see the beginnings of a crack right there. So, I think it was $14 or something like that. We're just gonna go ahead and put a new one on. All right, well, there it is. The head is out. We're sitting here headless. Head's out to the shop to get worked on. We'll know next week what the story is on that. So I'm gonna wrap up the head removal portion of the video now. We'll cut all this together and make it like a two-parter to get the head off. And then the next video will be a side quest where we get into some of the other stuff that we're finding out about this car, and I'm going to change the oil filter housing gasket. So that's coming up next. But thanks for watching. We'll talk soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying seeing me just, work it out as I go. And thanks for all the people who've been in touch and helping me with some advice and stuff. So talk to you soon. Thanks.